Member of Syria's interim government forces as well as the fighters linked to the former regime likely committed war crimes during the sectarian violence in March that killed around 1,400 people, mainly civilians, a United Nations report says. The United Nations Syria Commission of Inquiry said it had found that no evidence the authorities in Damascus had ordered the attacks. The violence along the coast, the heartland of the Alawite sect of Islam, exposed division after the Islamist-led rebels ousted the ex-president Bashar al-Assad in December. It also erupted as the security forces were ambushed by the groups loyal to the former regime, leading to the clashes between the government forces, largely the Sunni Muslim, and the Assad loyalist, mostly Alawite. The authorities sent the reinforcement, who were also joined by thousands of fighters, and the operations also turned into revenge killing of a sectarian nature. After the decades of brutality under the Assads in the mainly Sunni country, many associate Alawites, which also make up around 10% of the Syria's population, with the old regime, according to the United Nations Commission. Also acts that likely the amount of crimes that were incurred, including the war crimes, including the murder, torture, abductions, and inhuman act related to the dead, were committed by the interim government force, that members as well as the fighters linked to the Assad regime said. The commission called on the government, which also launched an inquiry, to expand the accountability efforts. The scale and the brutality of the violence documented in our report is deeply disturbing, the Paulo Sergio Pinheiro, the chair of the United Nations Syria Commission of Inquiry, said in the statement. We call on the interim authorities to continue to pursue accountability for all the perpetrators, regardless of affiliation or rank. While dozens of alleged perpetrators of violence have reportedly since been arrested, the scale of the violence documented in our reports warrants expanding such efforts. The report also warned that retaliatory attacks are continuing amidst a heightened climate of fear and also must urgently be addressed by the interim government. The Commission documented gross human rights violation in 16 locations in the Latakia, Tartus, Homs, and Hama governorates populated primarily by the Alawite in the early March. The perpetrators instead also went door to door asking the civilians in a majority of cases whether they were Alawite before taking the men and the boys away to be executed. Most victims were Alawite men between 20 and 50-year-old, according to the report, although women and children as young as 1 were also killed in the house raids. Armed forces and armed individuals have also filmed themselves committing serious human rights violations, it said, including severe bombings, beatings, and executions, or walking alongside the dead bodies. Fearing reprisal, families are also forced to keep the bodies of their loved ones inside their homes for days or in the street to be buried in the mass graves later. Hospitals were overwhelmed as corpses piled up. Thousands fled to the neighboring Lebanon or a Russian airbase for safety. Many survivors and Alawites have since left to the other parts of the Syria or sought refuge abroad, the reports have claimed. The reports concluded that the consistent pattern of the targeted violence against the civilians indicates that such acts were not random or isolated. The Commission conducted more than 200 interviews with the witnesses and the victims and gained access to coastal areas and affected communities.